with the lead. Batista with the catch. Oh! LeBron James with no regard for human life. Hand down, man down.
Yeah, I can see how disrespectful he's being right now.
No, I went to Temecula and brought you some dirt.
Yeah, that's a technical.
Mama, there goes that man.
Welcome back to the Bounce and Supersize Sports here on a Thursday, brought to you by Bite Size Sports. I'm Kev. With me, as always, is my dear friend James. James, happy Thursday.
What is
How
up,
we doing
Kev?
this Friday Eve? How you doing, brother?
Good, man. I am good. Not too bad at all. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Got basketball back up, college NBA, Thursday night football. Your Colts losing their mind again. A lot going on, buddy.
Oh, boy. Yes, we do. It's going to be quite the show here tonight. We've got a lot to talk about. I think maybe just to kick things off, get it started, and give anyone a chance who hasn't maybe set their fantasy lineup back. What up, Ken? Do we want to preview? Paces are turning around. I love this. Do we want to preview the NFL, the Thursday night football game, James, before we dive deep into all
We
the
can
hoopla?
do that, Kev. That works for me before we get into the tomfoolery of this week.
We've got Commanders and Eagles. First of all, you got anybody playing tonight that you're worried about?
I have A.J. Brown and
Same.
somebody else, I think, in my phone is who is it? Let me take a gander here. In one league, I have Brian Robinson in another, and I don't really like that. But I'm gonna bye week conundrum in that one.
It's a brutal bye week. I think I have A.J. Brown, and then in my IDP league, I actually signed Nakobe Dean to be a free
I have Noah
agent
Brown
player.
in the league. In the same league as Brian Robinson, I'm also playing Noah Brown because of buys. So I got two guys on the same team.
Ooh,
Which is not good.
could be tough. You know, you're really
Man, I need like a Noah
game
Brown. I need
tonight.
like a flea flicker. I need Brian Robinson to throw it to Noah Brown. The double up there. Who do I? Oh, I have Jaden Daniels. Okay, so in one league I have Noah Brown and Brian Robinson, same team guys.
Oof.
The other one is Jaden Daniels and AJ Brown, so different teams. So I just won a lot of points.
So we won a high
points
scoring game.
me.
That's
Yeah, I
right.
don't need 3-0 to tell you that. Don't need that.
I just remembered I have Goddard going this week in a tight end spot too. So I'm with you there.
Just points all over.
Points all day, baby. Give me all the points. Outside of that, though, I assume you don't have much of a rooting interest in this game. Are you
Commanders
feeling
are like my second favorite team right now because Jaden Daniels is awesome and Tennessee sucks, so I got to pick the second.
Dude, I'm with you there.
Kenny's got like 5 favorite teams.
I wish if I were to have a second favorite NFL team, it would be the hapless Chicago Bears, because my father, brother, and one of my best friends, all Bears fans.
Pick a good team, good second team.
Yeah, so there's
rotating second team. That's always good. You can have a rotating second team. That's always good if your team sucks. New rule. So I have a rooting interest just because I think the Commanders are really fun. This is a fun game tonight. 7-2 versus 7-3. Really fun game.
Yeah, it's a bit. I mean, it's a 2-horse race in that division. The Giants are bad, and the Cowboys
don't have a quarterback anymore.
Yeah, and so it's this. Both teams might get in. I know Washington's been a real surprise just at how good they've been, and you kind of expect, at least I do, maybe that Jaden would have some regression, take a step back at some point. I mean, we're seeing it with Caleb. Young quarterback, you get a funk. They talk about that rookie wall with the longer season and everything. It hasn't happened yet. If it's going to happen, it would be any week now. But this is a huge game for them, and I'm not a
think
big Nick Sirianni fan, so I'm going Commanders.
Not a lot of people aren't. I think I like the Commanders tonight too. One thing I'll give Jaden Daniels is Jaden Daniels' coach is quite a lot better than Caleb Williams is.
Jeez, yeah. It's the fact that they can't get any of their receivers open, and they have what is it, Swift out of the backfield? Like they have playmakers, and they can't get anything going. And
nothing like hiring the offensive coordinator from the Seahawks last year, where he was terrible. Nice job, guys. Lee, if you claim the Giants as your bad team, then you can pick another team, and the second team can be good, so you can get off the Dolphins bandwagon. It's a rule now.
You might be stuck.
It's a bye-tie sports rule.
Maybe it's a family tie like mine, where you're stuck in a lose-lose situation on NFL Sunday.
Just loser city over there. So we both like the Commanders tonight. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
High-scoring affair is what we're going for. Let's go, fuck the Tommies.
I'm rooting for them. If I had to bet on it, which luckily I don't, I would probably take the Eagles in a close game. Like that's who I think is going to win.
They got them favored by 3.5. I don't like that.
3.5. Oh yeah, they're gonna. Yeah. It's gonna be a 3-point game.
Shedeur Sanders coming your way, Lee. Hopefully not to Tennessee. Please suck one game worse than us.
Well, there you have it. A little football talk on Thursday, brought to you by our friends, not only on the Wednesday night stream there with Trevor and Josh, another damn fantasy podcast, but our Tuesday night, 9 p.m., Necessary Roughness, John and Ben. Go check them out if you can't get enough NFL content. We'll circle back to some more NFL topics here before the night is over, James, but to start with the NBA, I will actually Ken's comment here brings me to just a general topic I wanted to bring up. Last I checked, I believe this is accurate, the Cavs sit atop the Eastern Conference, and it is not looking too great other than them right now. I think maybe Boston also has 7 wins. And everybody else, bless you, is about 500 at best.
Boston,
this is looking like 2003.
13-0. There's 3 teams with winning records in the East. And the third team lost their best player for like 6 weeks in Paolo Banchero and the Magic.
Yeah. Rough.
Otherwise, you're right. It's under 500. It's so bad over there. So bad.
I feel like the East hasn't.
The Bucks are 4-8. The 76ers are 2-9. Who was surprised that signing Paul George has not worked out because he's hurt? Is anyone surprised? Joel Embiid has not played much. Who was surprised here? They're 2-9 is bad. Like they are in trouble right now.
They should have enough depth despite those injuries to be better than 2-9.
2-9.
I agree with Kenneth that no surprise.
Least amount of wins in the
bad,
league.
but. Yeah, exactly. Like
just in one loss away from the worst record in the league. Toronto's just played one more game.
It's an awful start. And again, I can't hate Paul George because Pacers fans like to update the Paul George trade tree every once in a while.
I saw that recently.
And I'm often reminded at just how blessed the Pacers have been because Paul George wanted to leave, and Victor Oladipo for that matter. Like and Sabonis, they have cashed in multiple times on people wanting to leave. So it's played out to the Pacers' benefit.
5-6. Cashed
but
in 5-6.
Hey, we got an Eastern Conference Finals run, which for a Pacers franchise is as close as you're going to get to winning it all. That and the NBA Cup. But anyway, as I was saying, the Paul George trade, at this point, it didn't work for the Thunder. It didn't work for the Clippers. If you're the Sixers, like you said, James, a team that your other best star is often hurt, we literally just watched a similar experiment go wrong in LA with him and Kawhi, and it wasn't enough. It turns out you need your 2 best players to play the majority of the season to have any kind of chance in the NBA. So I think the Sixers were always dumb for making this move, but it really looks bad at the moment. They'll be better. Maxey also hurt. Like they'll certainly, once they get healthy, they'll start rattling off some wins here. But I don't think they're a legitimate contender no matter what happens. Anybody else? You mentioned the Bucks. Anybody else? And maybe it is the Bucks that you see this record right now, and you're like, what the hell is going on?
The Bucks at 4-8, and they don't have injuries. That's Chris Middleton's missed some games, which is pretty normal.
They have to be so used to playing without him.
Yeah, exactly. Giannis is putting up massive numbers, and they're just no good. Nice job, Doc. Good job, Doc Rivers.
Your legacy is intact.
Well.
Oh, so Lee said, tell me why George left the Pacers. I think it was a combination of not winning a championship and just not being in a big market. I think he just wanted more money because, you go to New York, you go to LA. Obviously, there's going to be more sponsorship money there too. I assume even if you're on every billboard throughout the state of Indiana, there's just still going to be more opportunity for the big money companies that are in the larger metropolitans. So I don't know that it was all basketball related, but it certainly didn't help that they couldn't get over the hump. They had that nice run with him, the David West era with Roy Hibbert, pretty solid squad all around where they kept getting to the conference finals or would get beat by the Heat in the semis, something like that. And he just wanted out and demanded that trade to Oklahoma, which we got Sabonis and Oladipo out of. So for a minute, that looked wild. It's like, wow, we flipped one all-star for two. How do you do that? You don't see that every day. And of course, we all probably remember how some of those things have turned out. But yeah, probably just the money. Lee. But I don't know. I like Indianapolis because I'm an Indiana boy. But I can also understand when you've got opportunities to go play in LA or maybe Miami, how it might take a little extra money to make you stay in old Indianapolis.
All money.
No
good,
dude. Oh, so rough. Very unfortunate that team didn't accomplish more. But another young man that may not get to accomplish too much in his time in the NBA and is unfortunately being held back by his own father. And no, I'm not talking about a Ball brother. All right, this is not a LeVar Ball segment. It is actually a LeBron James segment. So, James, Bronny will only be playing in G League home games. So he won't be traveling with the G League team. I assume he'll probably do some traveling on away road series for the Lakers. And everybody is taking some heat for this. The Lakers organization as a whole, LeBron as a father, and not necessarily Bronny, but just that it's a bad look for Bronny, and it's not going to win him any favor with his G League or NBA teammates, and really setting the kid up. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I'm going to finish your sentence. You're setting the kid up for failure. Yes, that's what you're going to say, and that's correct. I don't know, man. Like, getting him drafted there, all that, wasn't a fan of it, but I understand him wanting to play with his son. He wants his King Griffey Jr. moment, all that. Now you're actively hampering his development, right? So he needs to play more games. He missed a lot of time at USC because of the heart issue. He needs to play a lot of games. He needs minutes. You're not playing him on the NBA team, obviously. So you send him to the G League team after you pull the stunt to get him 2 points on the court with his dad in Cleveland, all that whole shit. Now he's not going to travel with them. So he's only playing half the games. So on top of everybody already being like, this dude didn't deserve to get drafted, et cetera, now he's getting special treatment down in the G League. How do you think his teammates down there are going to treat him? Where he doesn't fucking travel to road games with them, but he gets to play at home. You tweeted out the classic lose situation, and it's fucking correct, man. This is bad. It's bad.
Who is this for? Like,
LeBron,
other
so he
than
can be around his son all the
LeBron,
time.
yeah, I guess LeBron's ego and a little bit of delusion. Because if it were any other player, the organization wouldn't want to do that. And James just
They
listed
would. They
all the
wouldn't do
reasons
that.
why they
Actually,
wouldn't do it. And a player wouldn't want to do that. I'm sure this isn't what Bronny wants. I mean, most of us have all had parents in some form or another. And could you imagine being a young man, not really being able? Now, granted, he only has this opportunity because of who his dad is, but at the same time, he's not even being given a chance at this point. So from his perspective, he's got to really feel like he's getting screwed over. As James points out, the players are going to hate him because they're going through the hard part of the schedule. They're traveling on the bus and doing all that stuff. And then when they come home, because of the spectacle, to sell some more tickets and to make LeBron look good, Bronny will then probably get minutes he doesn't deserve during the home games. Because if you're not a starter on the road, you shouldn't be a starter at home. So, I mean, you're taking away minutes from somebody who probably has earned them, and you may be cutting into their ability to take their one shot to go out there and get an NBA contract and provide for their family. Meanwhile, you're set for life. You know, Bronny could just sit around and play Call of Duty all day. And now props to him for not doing that. But still, you know, he's not going to get any sympathy from all these poor young men that are fighting for one of those very limited NBA roster spots. And he gets to just come and go as he pleases. So he's going to be hated, even though I'm sure he didn't ask for this.
He's going to be right. He's going to be hated for reasons he didn't do anything wrong. And
nepotism sucks, but
it's bad. It's bad. It's bad all around, man.
Absolutely awful. Now, and despite all that going on, LeBron has played well throughout the distractions, putting up again. It's hard to even say it at this point, but just mind-boggling numbers for his age. I've seen a tweet circulating. Somebody put out in, I think, 2015.
Yes, 2015.
LeBron's 30, so at least we don't have much more of this shit.
Yep. We have a lot more shit. Yeah, he's just keeps going. And Anthony Davis is having a hell of a year too.
Yeah, so they're moving right along still, despite that. So, like you said, obviously, Bronny not going to be getting many minutes on the big league squad. But let's see. There's another one. NBA. Speaking of homecomings and home games, we had a return of Klay Thompson as the Mavs slugged it out with the Warriors. And a couple of cool things about the game, as much as I don't really love the Warriors franchise, and there are a bunch of spoiled fans over there. I thought it was pretty cool that they all wore the captain's hats to welcome back Klay Thompson.
Captain's hat, like they did. The tribute video was really cool. They did it right. I'll give them credit.
And what were your thoughts on the game itself, James? It had a highlight finish. I have some thoughts, but I want to hear from you first.
Great game. I think Klay had his most points this season. Steph was fucking awesome, 37. Luka, 31. Great, awesome game. Really good game all around.
Yeah, and it had a nice back and forth too. I don't know if you saw the highlights, and Steph was asked about it in the pregame. Klay hit a couple shots that he would follow with the shimmy, you know, a little bit of what I imagine some good old fun. I assume, right? I assume they left on good terms, but then Steph hits that dagger step back three to win it. And I'm not a great lip reader, but it you know, essentially sounded like, you know, we're here, I'm here. I heard some people allege that he said, you didn't want to be here, you know, as if, you know, Tobias Harris over me.
Yeah.
You know, it was like Luka and Kyrie over me. It was maybe had a little bit of that energy, but asked in the post game about Klay's shimmy, Steph said he knows better. So I can't tell if this is
I don't know if there's
just two
bad blood
friends,
or not. Yeah, or if it's like
right?
I don't know.
Because you would know probably even better than I would know, having coached at the collegiate level. But I mean, we see that there are guys that get along, but they still, if I ever played any one of my teammates in a one-on-one, like you still want to win. Some people you can
Yeah.
have, like I've had teammates in my past that almost ended in fist fights. Practice could get a little chippy
Mhm.
because you'd have a couple of shit talkers going at each other, knew how to get under each other's skin. Maybe it's a little bit of that, but I think we should keep an eye on this. There may be something
They
brewing.
play 3 more times too, so it's not like this isn't the first time. This won't be the last. This is the first time. Will not be the last time.
Yeah. So, and I love the storyline. We need them. We've talked about that. Not so much
Yes.
lately. So I've been talking about the NBA as much lately, but that's where the NFL wins a lot. They have all these underlying storylines. There's so much to talk about. So having the Splash Brothers broken up and playing each other 4 times, and maybe we'll see them play in the playoffs. That is something that really helps draw new and casual fans to the sport at a time where I do feel like the NBA could use that.
Yes, would agree.
What up, John? He
Johnny
thinks
boy.
he's the greatest and he will die on that hill. Oh, this is in relation to Lee saying Dion is already trying to control his son, which kind of fits. We've been talking about LeBron and LeVar. You made a joke about Sanders potentially being the Giants quarterback next year, James. Any thoughts on Dion and Shadur and life after this season for both of them?
Well, there's some rumors floating that Dion's going to go to the NFL. If Colorado I don't think he will, but Colorado controls its own destiny on going to the playoff. They've just got to keep winning. They haven't lost. They lost 2. Did they lose 2 in a row? They lost to Nebraska and somebody else. Maybe somebody else. I can't remember for sure, but they're on a roll.
Yeah, could be.
I think.
I
don't know. We also heard Caleb Williams' dad say he wasn't playing for this and this. We want ownership. Like, there's rules in place for that shit, man. You're going to play where you get drafted. Or you're not going to play that year. You're not going to get paid.
Unless
so
your dad is
millions.
Unless your dad's Arch Manning. That's like the one time, right? Eli and Phillip Rivers.
Eli, there's only one time it's ever worked, right? And it really actually worked out for both of them because they just swapped. They just traded quarterbacks. And both were Hall of Famers.
Right. It wasn't a Ryan Leaf number 1 overall.
Yes, Lee,
situation.
K-State. You're right. That's right. It was Nebraska, then Kansas State back to back.
Ah, that's right. So, yeah, I tend to think Dion probably has an ultimate goal of coaching in the NFL. And if that's the case, I think he would take the opportunity to be either on the same staff as his son, if that's how he gets the job, or just to go take a job in the league. That would be a bit of a bummer. As a fan of classic college football, I have enjoyed the fact that Colorado has been irrelevant. They haven't been not like they were in the late 80s and 90s.
Early 2000s when they were really good a couple of years there. Maybe one, they beat shit out of Nebraska one year.
Yeah, but it's been a long time since they've been consistently good, and that warms my nostalgic heart to see them relevant, but I think it all dries up as soon as Dion goes away. But we shall see. What up, Stu, in the chat? Oh, Lee says Dion is going to Florida State, I think.
The Florida State Eagles, wild. They have they went from undefeated regular season last year to horrific, like 1 in
doormat. Yeah,
they're absolutely terrible. They've got 1 win and a bazillion losses, and losses to it's bad. Preseason top 10, 11. Why preseason rankings don't fucking matter. They shouldn't release them until like week 3.
That's a good point. I don't understand why they're.
It doesn't for college. So college football, it's gotten like it doesn't matter as much anymore because it's now 12 teams in the playoffs. But man, when you were only 2 teams made the national title, or even 4 made the playoff, if you didn't start the season ranked, it was virtually impossible to have a shot. Especially if you were, the Utah or the Boise States, the Utah team that was really good pre-Pac-12, like those type of teams trying to get in, like UCF, you had to be ranked to even have a shot. It's gotten better now with the top 12 teams in the playoffs, so that you've got a much better chance. But for the longest time, I argued against preseason rankings because Florida State was ranked 11, and they're fucking terrible.
Yeah. Or
They're
you
not
have you'd have these 2 to 3 loss SEC teams still in the top 10 just because they're like,
Right.
oh well, the team's so good.
Yep.
They make all these teams in the top 4, and then when they lose a game early,
Yep.
it's like, oh, they only slide 4 positions, and I'm like, dude, I don't know. I tend to agree with you, James, because that would also solve my issue of losses not having the same weight for everybody. So again,
wait to rank them.
Alabama loses, but because of their reputation, they don't slide down as far as if it were to pull one of your examples, if it were like an undefeated Boise State team that lost, they would slide from like 6 to 15.
Out,
but when Bama does it, they drop 2 fucking places and
3 to 5
like
type
that.
shit. Yeah.
It's just incredibly irritating. So I think it could help that a little bit if they went your route and just said, oh, hey, we'll let you guys play a couple games before we rank you.
Mm-hmm. Shout out Nate's Hoosiers, though. I will give him credit. Give him credit where credit is due. First 10-0 start in program history.
Big weekend.
Monster game next weekend against Ohio State. Indiana's off this weekend.
Oh, it's next weekend. Thank you. For some reason, I thought it was tomorrow.
I believe, let me double check, but I'm almost positive it's next weekend.
But since we, while you look that up, I will say I got to be careful because I am deep behind.
Saturday, November 23rd at 12. Yes.
Love that. I'm really rooting for Indiana on this one, even though
fuck yeah,
live
go do
in
it.
Columbus.
Do your thing, Signetti.
Let's go. I love seeing this team have this kind of run because for all the years growing up, I grew up a Hoosier basketball fan, but my dad, the Notre Dame football fan, so it just kind of was. Didn't really watch. I was nothing but baseball and basketball for the most of my. Once I got into football, I was just like, "What teams do you like, Dad?" But those Bears were too awful. I quickly revolted and went to the Colts. But so Hoosier football.
I mean, you have got a couple Super Bowls out of this, so it has worked out for you.
It worked out for me, yeah. But the Hoosiers, outside of just having guys like Antoine Randall go through their program, they've had a couple of studs here and there. They really have not had a whole lot to be proud of and to hang their hat on. And it's interesting. Now you see Purdue in just an awful situation. There was a run there where they were actually good, or at least had a good offense for about a decade or so with some NFL caliber quarterbacks. And it's nice to see more than one relevant team in Indiana, because even though I am a Notre Dame fan, I'll admit they get that favorable treatment too. They get put in the top 25 every year, even the years they don't deserve it. And some years there's no good football in Indiana. Ball State is the best team in the state sometimes. So I am very happy to see this. Oh, the 06 Super Bowl was wild, John. I had a Peyton Manning jersey on, and I did rock a Bears snapback though, just to try to keep everybody level. It was a fun time. I'm pretty sure I went to someone else's house. I went to a Super Bowl party that year. I did not watch the game with my dad. That would have gotten rough. Thank you, Rex Grossman, baby. It's the only reason I have a Super Bowl to celebrate.
Yeah, I fucking sexy Rex. Gotta forget
that. Oh, let me see here. Is there anything else in the world of the NBA before I
shout out to Cleveland starting out 13-0? Right.
Do you think that's legit?
I do think it's legit. I think their coach is awesome.
Could be their year.
And they are just Mitchell, Garland, both those guys are playing. They're awesome right now. I absolutely believe they're legit.
Hoosiers, BYU, Army. Yeah, because the wins and losses seem to matter a little bit more back then. But yeah, the Cavs on an awesome run like this early, you probably would you'd probably rather win 13 games in a row towards the end of the season, but you're with the rest of the East starting off.
They're so bad, like
sluggishly
they're
out the
so
gate.
far ahead of everybody.
Yeah, like
already.
they're going to have a good
You know?
opportunity to just cinch.
I mean,
this
just like
bad
so, we're
boy.
talking about the Sixers earlier, right? The Sixers are 10 games behind them already.
That is
We're over an
nuts.
eighth
They're
of
going
the
to
way
be
through the
climbing.
season.
Yeah, they're going to be climbing up that hill all year, honestly. Just knowing the histories of
Start
George
like that
and
is so
Embiid,
big. Yeah.
there's just no way they're going to climb out of that. I think at this point, at this rate, the Sixers, I mean, they're going to be probably somewhere in the 6 to
Kenny
10
Atkinson's their head coach.
range.
That's who it was. I had to look it up. I couldn't remember. He's doing great.
I love that for Cleveland. I mean, they've been a team. I mean, James, for the last couple of years, we've talked about them on this program a lot, along with the Magic as being one of those young, versatile teams that, like you just said, has players, and they've kept that a good nucleus together. And now those guys have played multiple seasons together. They've got it figured out. I think this could be their year. I think they're a legitimate shot at making it to the finals. I think they'll be right there in the mix, barring any injuries.
Shout out them to not being scared to pull the trigger and try to get a better coach correctly. Like they didn't, they fired their coach after. Then if they fired him or just didn't re-sign him after the playoffs last year, after 2 kind of just meh exits, and people are like, "Damn, like you guys are pretty good." Now, I mean, they had the balls to do it, and they were able to keep Mitchell, get him re-signed, and now this is going like, shout out, man.
That's a great point. It's a tough call to make, and I know. So in the NFL, sometimes franchises get called out for that. For instance, the Eagles, right? They move on from Andy Reid after making 4 straight NFC championships or something like that, and it's like, well, we'd like to get a step beyond that. Now in that situation, everything worked out for both parties too. Like the Eagles eventually got theirs. Andy Reid clearly where he needs to be.
Sometimes it don't work out.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out, and it's a really tough, like you said, it's a bold move to have that courage to say, hey, we think we can be better than this, and this might be as far as this guy can take us. This guy might be Doc Rivers. It might just never happen with him, so we might just have to move on and go get us an Eric Spoelstra, right? James, should we talk about Eric's long night? Not 99 times out of 100 for my money, the best, most with it
best
head coach in the NBA, but everybody's got a bad night, James. What did you think about that Pistons game?
He had a bad time. Overtime, tie game. What do you say? Set Kevin Love inbounds the ball and they didn't have it, right?
Yeah, so
then they had 6 players on the court.
Well, so here's how it goes.
They were up 2. They were up 2 when this happened. Yeah, they were up 2 when this happened.
They give up a basket they were up 2. They're on defense. They give up a basket to tie the game. Eric Spoelstra calls a timeout in frustration. There's 1.1 second left on the clock. The Heat do not have a timeout. It
wasn't just a basket they gave up a backdoor lob dunk.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
It was a backdoor lob dunk. It was a fucking like what the fuck play?
Like an absolute breakdown. And so he calls the timeout in frustration, and the cameraman and the producer immediately cut to Jalen Rose, who's courtside.
Oh, his reactions are great.
And he gets sent instantly back to 1993, and he's like, "Oh my
they
god,
start talking about
I've seen this
Weber
movie before."
Yeah.
And then, so we get our technical foul at that point, right? We get our free throw, and at that point, James, as you mentioned, Spo tries to sub in Kevin Love, known for his ability to make a great long full court pass. The only problem with that is, James, unless the rules have been changed, it's not Miami's ball. So you see Kevin Love check in, kind of meander around the inbound area until he realizes that he's not supposed to be there. The Detroit player steps in, and then he just kind of discreetly walks back to the bench. And I didn't see anybody check back in. I think he just kind of walked off. Just what we call at the poker table, Eric Spoelstra was on tilt during the last few seconds of that game. He had lost all ability to reason or think at all.
He just got broken. Something happened and his brain broke. He just lost his mind. It was bad.
That was his Joker origin story. Lee says that JJ Redick is the best coach, James.
JJ's had a good he has had a good start. I'll give him credit. He has not sucked, that's for sure.
Yeah, I would have to say, as it starts right now, probably eating my words a little bit.
He's been pretty good.
I thought it was a bad move. It was going to put him in a bad spot, but it sems that he is up for the task.
Solid.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll give him credit. Some of his offensive stuff has been really good. I will give him credit. Me and you both were like, he's been good. Yep.
He proved us wrong. He said, "Suck it, dweebs." But here we have our regular segment here, especially when we've been doing the supersize sports business. We've got around the AFC South. I don't know if there's any
big news.
Yeah, big news, big Titans news, right? You guys got anything going on?
No, Tennessee just lost again. Levis did not turn the ball over last week. I'm going to give him credit. His best game of the season. He did take 7 sacks, which is a problem. But, hey, let's baby steps. No turnovers. Baby steps.
That's right. You got to get there. Whew. Speaking of no turnovers, it may have been one of the many turnovers by Joe Flacco. It may have been Jim Irsay and Chris Ballard knocking on Shane Steichen's door at 3 a.m. I don't know what caused it, but once again, the Colts have flip-flopped back to making really unnecessary definitive statements. Shane Steichen has announced that Anthony Richardson is the starter again. And again, it's for the whole season, which is something he said about Joe Flacco when he didn't need to say it. This whole thing is just people saying stuff that they shouldn't say to the media when they don't need to say it, or not saying enough. I mean, how do you feel about this, James? Before I rant for an indefinite period of time, as an outsider, what are your thoughts just over, let's just call it the last month? Everybody knows what we're talking about. Anthony taps his head. Yeah, he should have called a timeout. Maybe it was disciplinary, whatever. So starting from that first mistake, what are your thoughts on how the Colts have handled this whole thing?
Horrible. Horrible. So bad, dude. So bad.
I do agree.
AR should be the starter, is correct. Here's the one difference between the Titans and the Colts right now, where Levis has been really bad, like horrifically bad at times. AR's been up and down. The Titans have not backed down from the fact that when Levis is healthy, he's the starter. Period. End of story. They know that this season that we aren't going to the playoffs, we're not winning the title. They need to find out if he can be the guy or not.
Yep.
This flip-flopping shit Indianapolis is doing is out of control. It's so bad for AR. Like you knew, like we said, I won't hash on too much. You knew what you got when you drafted him. He needed a lot of work. This stuff is just stupid. To switch to Flacco we got to try to make a playoff run, whatever. For him he was terrible for 2 games. To then flip back, it's just like something behind the scenes is bad there. Whether it's Irsay pulling strings or whatever it is, something is not good.
It is deja vu all over again. It is 2022 to a T. I have a former Eagles offensive coordinator who every week is starting to look less and less like a true NFL head coach. I've got a meddling owner and an incompetent general manager. Yep. Those 2 things haven't even changed. But the idea that the Frank Reich experiment worked so well, the Colts went back to the exact same well and said, hey, Eagles, you got any more of them crafty offensive coordinators that like to call weird plays and treat life like it's a game of fucking Madden they're playing instead of just, I don't know, a good offense that works. Steichen drives me nuts. He makes bad decisions throughout the games. Someone made a bad decision here, whether it was him. I tend to believe at this point he's kind of being worked like a puppet, that Irsay is getting involved and potentially Ballard one way or another. I think that might have been why he was benched in the first place. And it certainly seems to be why he was brought back, because even after that shitty last game, the first thing that he said initially was Flacco's still going to be our guy.
Flacco's the guy, yes.
He's had 2 games he'd like to have back, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden the story changes again. And Anthony himself doesn't seem to know what changed.
Nobody does. It doesn't make any sense.
It's bad. Irsay needs to hand the team over to his daughters at this point. He's getting into that Jerry Jones, Al Davis territory that you really don't want to be in.
He is. He actually, I would agree with that.
Lee says he's worse. He might be right. I honestly wouldn't argue.
He's just not public about it,
He just maybe doesn't get he doesn't get called out as much on the national media, probably, because that's the other part. Jerry Jones loves a camera. Jim Irsay loves to tweet. So much smaller audience.
Correct. Yeah.
So he gets a lot of shit. I think, everybody, the Cowboys are a national brand. And so it's easy to remember billionaire Jerry over NA Jim. But, at this point, like I don't even really care to watch the Colts. I'll tell you, the 2 Flacco games I did not watch. I don't care.
Yeah.
I have nothing to learn from that. There's nothing we can glean. There's no chance Flacco's going to be the quarterback next year.
No.
So no chance for these young receivers to build rapport with the guy who will hopefully be the starter next year.
No chance for your second-year quarterback who has accuracy issues to develop by playing. I know there's 2 franchises this year that have flip-flopped high draft pick quarterbacks last year, right? In the Panthers and Bryce Young, and the Colts and AR. Like, Levis has looked like a horrible quarterback at times this year. He's never, this last game was his best game of the year, and he still took 7 sacks, which is way too many. But at least Tennessee's been like, hey, we're in. We got to find out. We got to find out. We got to let him play through everything. And they have. They have not wavered on that outside of when he got hurt. And that was because of his arm strength. He sprained his AC joint, couldn't throw the ball very well. But they did play him against the Colts, and it was a stunning development where you're like, something's wrong with this motherfucker. You're like, he can't do a lot of things, but he can fire that football. And he was throwing lollipops, just bouncing. What the fuck is happening here?
So they do.
At least they haven't done that to him. So from a confidence standpoint, they have stood behind him. No questions asked. Whereas you got the Colts flip-flopping every week. Panthers they pulled Rice the second week, and all of a sudden now he's back. Put 3 decent outings underneath his belt. Not, Jaden Daniels type outings, but good comparatively.
Right.
To the rest of us.
And the worst part about it for AR was they didn't need to name him the starter. He was hurt last year. Gardner Minshew ended the season as a starter. You brought Flacco in. You could have, if he wasn't ready,
just don't
start him.
There is absolutely precedent for that. Look at Jordan Love.
That's better. I mean, and I know, one could argue they started him as a rookie. Okay, great. But this is a new year and he's been hurt.
He didn't even play 4 games and he got hurt.
Yeah. So I think it would have been an easier pill to swallow if during the offseason and preseason, they're like, hey, we just think we like what we have as a team. We like our guys, as Chris Ballard said. We think we might actually have a playoff team. So we're going to have you sit back and learn this year. But that wasn't the case because that was never the goal. They look around at a weak division and, CJ Stroud having not as great of a year as everybody expected. Which, we did talk about that as well, that there might be a sophomore regression. Like that happens too. CJ will probably be fine. He'll probably bounce back and be better than ever.
Anybody's worried about him.
But yeah, so they saw this and said, "Oh, maybe there's an opportunity here now that we're a 500 team." And I bet a lot of people weren't expecting the Jets to win fewer games with Aaron Rodgers than they did with Zach Wilson. So like you've got the Bengals with their rough start, they got a bad record. So I can understand looking around and saying, "Oh shit, we might have a shot at these playoffs." But that was never the goal. Otherwise, they would have spent money in the offseason.
Correct.
They wouldn't have sat
Positions
on
of
their
need,
hands.
all this stuff, right? Exactly. Cornerback,
This is
secondary.
This is improv comedy is all this is, James. They have no plan, no inkling of what to do. There's just a bunch of yes and between Chris Ballard and Jimmy Irsay. Just a couple of knuckleheads yucking it up on stage.
I don't know, man. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. It's just bad management. It's dumb. Dumb.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. And yeah, I will probably tune back in to see if AR has made any big progressions this week.
Yeah, it's at least
I don't
finding
expect
out
a lot,
to watch
but
and see. Like at least he's playing. Like at least at least it's him.
you get to see it.
At
And
least you're
now,
playing your young draft pick. At least you're doing that. That's what I wanted to say. I lost my mind there for a second.
no, that is fair. And so I know we're getting close to Thursday night football kickoff time, so we'll get out of here in just a few minutes, gang. Once again, thank you to everybody who's been in the chat watching along. If you have any questions or topics, get them out now while we go through a couple of things here. Lee says, my Dolphins have the best chance of all 3-win teams to make the playoffs. Yeah, you got that. And it happens.
Players.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they can string some things
They got
together.
dudes.
And if Tua stays healthy, obviously without him, I think that unfortunately don't have any depth there at all. Yeah. But they've got it. They've got it everywhere else. They've got it at running back. They've got it at receiver. They could make that run. Now, this is normally the time of the show where back in the day we would just look at the NBA's upcoming weekend schedule. But since we do a little bit of both here now, we talk a little football too, James, are there any matchups from either sport that you've got your eye on for this weekend? You got any NFL matchups you're looking at, or
I gotta look. I haven't really pulled the schedule up here. I haven't. I'll be watching the Fighting Will Levises to see if he can stack a second good game. That matchup tonight is really fun. I'm very excited for that.
It is good to have a good one for once. Well, they did a little better this year.
Oh, we've had last week was pretty good too. Let's see. Oof, a lot of good teams with bad teams. Baltimore, Pittsburgh's fun. Pittsburgh's pretty good this year. Baltimore's really good.
That one will be a lot of fun. You got Bears, Packers is always a classic.
Kansas City, Buffalo's good. Yeah, Bears, Packers. Chicago just sucks.
I don't know. I think Seahawks Niners could still be a good game. I love
Seahawks,
a good
Niners
division game. Seahawks have been letting me down. They're not as good.
Back. Yeah, Seahawks not as good as last year. C-Mac's back for San Francisco. Cincy LA is a fun Sunday night football game too.
I love that. Yeah, Monday could be brutal. Texans, Cowboys.
What looked like it won at the beginning of the season would have been a really fun game is now just debauchery. Dallas without Dak for the rest of the season. It's no good. There you go. Tickets as low as $35. That says it all.
Yikes. Lee's Dolphins take on Sean's Raiders. 7-point favorites on that one. And, another one, there's some really random, like Rams, Patriots, Lions, Jags.
Yeah, there's just some.
That Browns, it's
Browns,
wild.
Saints.
2-7 Browns versus 3-7 Saints. I would not have predicted that going into the year. I would have thought both.
Definitely not after week one when the Saints looked like world beaters when they scored like 50.
Yeah, exactly. And the Browns, you thought, even if Deshaun's not great, look what they got out of Joe Flacco and the boys.
But then Deshaun Watson was not great.
And then Deshaun's,
and by not great, he was horrific.
Might as well have been playing left-handed, man. That was,
so bad.
Poor franchise. I feel very bad for them. But yeah, that probably shores it up for me on the NFL side. Let me pull up the NBA calendar as well. We'll get this up for the screen next time, gang, but some technical difficulties. We're making sure that the stream stays
my computer
healthy.
Is,
so no screen sharing tonight.
Been pissy the last 2 days. We are not screen sharing. It might explode in my face. It's mad. Don't know why. Don't know what the problem is.
So as far as the Friday night matchups, we've got Heat Pacers, Lakers Spurs will be a good one Friday night at 7:30. The Sixers got a chance against an also beat up Magic to try to claw back into the Eastern standings. Pistons and Raptors is probably one to skip. Wizards, Hawks. The Nets and Knicks will be a good local rivalry there, but there's not a ton on Friday night until you get late. You got Suns, Thunder. That will be good. And Grizzlies, Warriors. And then one that we will like here, the sickos that we are, Kings and Timberwolves late.
I saw it too. I saw it. I saw it too. Or it might have been the first one I looked at.
Like, oh, there we go. Yeah, with the way the Eastern Conference is playing, you're better to just start at the 10 p.m. games because those are probably where the good teams are.
Yeah, like I just skipped the rest of it. Yeah, drop right down there.
Might as well just enjoy a basketball-free dinner if you're on the East Coast. Saturday, a whole lot of nothing. Really just not a single match. And Spurs Mavericks, if the in-state rivalry, that's all you've got to look forward to on Saturday.
Yeah.
And Sunday.
Maybe he had his first 50-point game the other day. Shout out to him.
That's true. The Heat and Pacers run it back on Sunday. Suns, Timberwolves, that's a good one. Cavs looking to stay undefeated against the Hornets if everything holds by Sunday. And then Mavericks,
Denver,
Thunder
Memphis.
will be a good one late. Oh, yeah, Denver, Memphis. So
in the middle.
We got a couple of back-to-backs. The Nets and the Knicks play again on Sunday. So not a bad weekend for sports, and that includes some combat sports. So, James, something that we don't talk a lot about on this program at all, but something I talk about pretty frequently on Carnage Media is the world of boxing and mixed martial arts. Two incredibly big matchups coming with John Jones fighting on Saturday, and on Friday we have Mike Tyson taking on
what do you think
Jake
of that?
Paul. I would love so much to say, and when it first started at the very, very beginning, you can find footage of me saying I think Mike Tyson will win, and I wish I still believed that, but at 58 years old, I just think there's a better chance that
the age,
younger
and that's what I hate about these fights is these guys are stacking it against names. Like Mike Tyson is a name. There was a time where he was the best boxer in the world. I was a kid, maybe in diapers, 30-some years ago when he was. He's 58.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's not an old man's game.
They loaded up against these other pro athletes or old boxers. Like, I want to see Jake Paul box against somebody in his prime right now and see
Jake Paul fights MMA guys who are known for their grappling. So he gets into boxing matches with wrestlers. You know, it's a scam, just like everything else any Paul brother does. Allegedly, for legal purposes, that was a joke, but also look it up yourself if you don't believe me. So it's a scam. I would love nothing more than to see Mike Tyson knock this dude out. But if the fight happens, and I still have reservations that it won't actually happen, I think Jake Paul is going to win, and it'll be unfortunately a bit of a disappointing
Netflix,
fight,
right?
if I'm being honest. Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's a money grab, and Tyson's 58, man. Like, it's not young.
And for the other one, I mean, John Jones will probably win, but we need him to lose. The MMA world, the UFC fans deserve so much better than John Jones when it comes to the greatest of all time. I mean, just imagine if Tom Brady was always getting arrested for being on cocaine and DUIs, hitting, crashing his car into pregnant women and then leaving the scene of the crime, coming back just to get his weed out of the car and then leaving the scene of the crime again. I mean, this guy is just not a good human being. He's not a good person. He cheats. He's been caught doping. I want to see it end, because the other thing that I have to say, despite all of that, still currently pound for pound, probably the best MMA fighter out there. But that's what makes it so disgusting, that he's a guy that will resort to scratching his opponent's eyes with his long fingernails. Like, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Like, why cheat when you're already that good?
Yep. I agree.
And so, for the love of God, John Jones needs to go out on his shield. He needs to leave that octagon, not for the last time, but he needs to lose and then continue to come in for some money grab fights so that this legacy can be tarnished a bit. And then we just need Pereira to keep doing what he's doing. And the world needs to realize that what they really want is kickboxing, guys. What you want is kickboxing and Muay Thai. Only the fighters like the wrestling stuff. The casual fans don't. They get so upset when they'll start booing if it's 4 minutes on the ground. They want to stand you up. They want to watch you knee and elbow each other in the face. You want kickboxing. You just don't realize it. So go watch kickboxing. It's really fun. Anything else, James, before we get on out of here? And if not, where can the folks at home find you?
Shout out Syracuse's head football coach for the quote of the year. This is the quote. Honestly, when we lose, I don't even get in the shower until early this morning. I'll just be mad. I just brush my teeth. It's like I don't deserve soap. So shout out for the quote of the year. That's Syracuse's head football coach, Fran Brown.
Oh, man, dude.
No soap for you.
That's a good way to punish your team when they underperform. Just walk up and down the bus aisle, just airing them bad boys out. Let them know how disappointed you are.
Rips.
Wow.
So funny.
That one is a good one. Yeah. I mean, not the kind of thing you expect somebody to say out loud.
Yeah, it's something. Something.
Oh, that is great. Yeah, so that's the highlight, right? That's a good one to end on.
Shout out, buddy.
You guys can find us here on Thursday nights, of course, at 7 p.m. And of course, we have the Tuesday show, Necessary Roughness, 9 p.m. Eastern. Another Damn Fantasy podcast on Wednesday at 9:15 Eastern. And more videos and live streams coming up. So make sure you've got the notifications turned on so you don't miss any of our bonus shows or upcoming videos. You can also find James and I over on our sister station, Dweeb, talking about all things comic books, movies, video games, TV shows, all that good stuff on Monday, 6 p.m. on the weekly Dweeb. And we also talk Star Wars every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We got a whole bunch of preview reviews, all kinds of good stuff over there. So if you're into that, check it out. Go give us a subscribe over there on Dweeb with 2 Ds to start. James, any final thoughts for the folks at home, sir?
No, if you want to check us out on other stuff, come watch us at Dweeb. I will be talking Arcane tomorrow is my plan. And we do all kinds of dumb stuff over there. So come join us.
That is right. I will be there. And until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you, guys. Lee, thank you, fellas.
We will see you next week.
Miller for 3. Yes. Jordan.